Hello everyone, my name is Maddie and welcome back to Prose and Soup. In the month of September, I only read Dramione fanfiction. You might be wondering, what's Dramione, or why on earth would you do that? And the answer I have for you is, honestly, it sounded like fun. I posted an Instagram story somewhat jokingly saying that I should only read Dramione fanfiction for a week, and a few people liked it, so I did that. And then the whole month of September went by, and I realized I pretty much only read Dramione fanfiction. I will say, I read about 70 pages in another book, but Dramione fanfiction is the only thing I actually finished reading in September. And I want to walk through what that was like. I say this like it's the most insane thing in the world, and really I'm just being an AO3 girly like I was in high school. The fanfiction of choice was Draco Malfoy and the mortifying ordeal of being in love. Now, before you freak out, this is just Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, okay? I did not purchase an illegal copy of this. I did not bind a copy because I am not knowledgeable enough in bookbinding to do that, even though I wish I was, and if you know how to do that, I think you're really cool. I just simply printed this out and used very weak tape to tape it on the cover, so please do not panic. This is just for the visuals. I've had this story bookmarked on AO3 for quite some time, and I finally decided to read it because I wanted to do this reading challenge, and I didn't have any other ones bookmarked. That's how much thought went into that. But I knew it was pretty popular. I'll put the stats on the screen here. It has a ton of reads on AO3, and it was really long. So what I did was I downloaded it as a PDF, and it was like 585 PDF pages, I believe, so pretty good length. I added the book to Bookly, which is the reading tracking app that I use, not sponsored in any way, although I wish it was. So this reading challenge, a bit of a slow start. I think the first day I read like 23 pages, and I was proud of that. I was like, you know what? I have Soup, I have Dramione fanfiction, I'm reading, it's chill. And I was excited about the story. Basically, in this fanfiction, Draco is an Auror and Hermione is like a bunch of things. She's like a doctor, a researcher, a muggle doctor, a healer. She does all the things. And this takes place, I believe, about 15 years after the war. Hermione is doing some top secret research that the Minister of Magic is afraid is going to put her in danger, and the Aurors get assigned to protect her, and the Auror that does is, unfortunately, or fortunately, Draco Malfoy. It's mostly a romantic comedy. This is unlike any other Dramione fanfiction I have read, but I've only read 2 Dramione fanfictions other than this one, so my sample size pretty small. If I had to put it in a bar graph, this is the number of Dramione fanfictions I've read that are dark and kind of scary, but exciting and thrilling. And then this is the number that are fun and romantic and exciting and sweet. Now, the sample size here is 3, so it's really small, but, point remains. I feel like I have not found that many Dramione fanfictions yet that are like this one, and so I'm excited to read more. If you have any suggestions for Dramione fanfictions that are more on the lighter side, let me know in the comments. Thank you in advance. I will read them. Probably more often than I will read published books. Anyway, we were off to a bit of a slow start, but I kept trudging through the week, trying to read when I could, and then Labor Day came and I was able to read a little bit more than I had in days prior. If you don't know, I'm a mom and I also work full time, so I really do my best to squeeze these things in as best I can and read and keep up with Bookstagram, but sometimes that can be pretty hard. And as we'll see by the end of the video, this is the only book I finished in September. Again, it's 585 pages though. It's nothing to scoff at, even though I kind of just scoffed. We don't have to talk about it. One thing I find is that the more Dramione fanfiction I read, the more invested I get into a Dramione fanfiction, the more I can't stop thinking about it. It's not quite like other books. She's not like other girls. I think the reason for it is there is something so intrinsically compelling about Dramione as a pairing. I think it's just because it's one of those pairings where it's like opposites and it shouldn't be a thing, but it is a thing. I mean, it's not canonically a thing. I hope you know what I'm getting at. But as I was reading, I just kept thinking about Dramione more and more and more and being like, wow, I like this version of things. I like how this ended up. This is my headcanon now. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that J.K. Rowling doesn't think Draco should be like forgiven or romanticized in that way. Maybe I made that up. I'll see if I can find it, and if I can, I'll put it on the screen. Personally, I really like whenever we can look at a different side to Draco through fan fiction, right? And one thing that this fan fiction does really well is showing that other side of Draco without making him lose everything that he is as a character. We see Draco a lot older in this book, a lot more mature, a lot more moved on, if you will, from things of the past. That's like super refreshing to see, especially because the Dramione fanfictions I've read in the past have been a lot more, like I said, dark, kind of focused on the darker sides of Draco. Another thing that I like about this book is that Draco falls first, or at least that's what we know, because it's mostly from his third-person perspective. Anyway, after lots of kicking and giggling and just being excited about Dramione, I kept reading, and the 1-week reading challenge ended, and I read 240 total pages in that 1 week. I had a lot of fun doing it, and honestly, I kind of thought, okay, I'm enjoying this fanfiction, but maybe I'll slow down on reading it so I can read some other books. And I wanted to do a video where I tried to find a 5-star read that I already own, so I picked up this book called Freshman that's been on my shelf for a long time, like since high school. And I think I read like 70-something pages, and I kid you not, I was comparing it to the Dramione fanfiction, and it is by far nowhere near a Dramione fanfiction at all. So I took it as a sign. It was time to go back to the Dramione fanfiction. And if we look at my Bookly calendar for the month, we can see evidence of this. I also read a few days of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and am enjoying that. Still currently reading that at the time of filming this video, but I spent most of the month reading Dramione fanfiction. So I kept reading, and I noticed that my reading sessions were getting longer and longer and longer, as evidenced by my Bookly log. My Bookly log, man, it reveals a lot about me, I think. And I kept reading this and enjoying it, and the stakes were rising. There was not only the main plot, but there were some subplots that were really fun, that I really enjoyed. A lot of Draco being like, I'm totally not into Hermione, because that would be crazy, while he's very obviously into Hermione. I love it. I love it. There's honestly nothing better. But the problem is when you do work on Bookstagram and you post and that's something that you enjoy, typically people expect to see that you're reading different books or some variety or have something to talk about. And I really didn't. If you followed me in September, you know, it was just Dramione. Pretty much just Dramione. But honestly, the more that I read and enjoyed this story and how well written it really was, I just had a newfound appreciation again for fanfiction writers, and I've always been appreciative of fanfiction and fanfiction writers since I was old enough to be on the internet and consuming fan media. I personally have written a few fan fictions that did pretty well on Wattpad way back in the day. And way back in the day meaning like 2017. I'm aging myself a little bit here. And so it's not like I didn't already have this appreciation and this understanding for what like people who make fan works do. They put in so much effort and passion to create amazing things, and usually without much return, right? It's hit me again while reading this and enjoying this and smiling while reading this. It just made me kind of think about how beautiful fan culture really can be. Of course, there are downsides to everything, right? Of course, there are toxic people in every group. And sometimes the originator of the source material is toxic themselves. But it's really cool to enjoy a fan work that somebody birthed out of passion for an original story and make something so amazing out of it. So whether or not you think Dramione should be a thing, or you hate it with your whole heart, or you love it with your whole chest, I think that we can all appreciate fan works in general, at least at its very core, right? And truthfully, this was one of my 5-star reads of the year. And I haven't had that many. Granted, I haven't read that many books, so the sample size is also not that big, but still a 5-star read. Would I do it again, you ask? Absolutely I would, but I don't know what to read next. So if you have Dramione fanfiction recommendations, definitely leave them in the comments. I would love to read your suggestions. And maybe if it's not Dramione, but you have a fanfiction that's a favorite of yours from any fandom, let me know about it. I do like a lot of different fandoms, so it might be something that I'm interested in, and even if I'm not, maybe there's other people in the comments that could benefit from it as well. Let's remember to support authors of fan works and to make sure that we are treating their work with respect and not trying to resell bound copies or anything like that. Let's appreciate it for what it is and support these authors for spending so much of their time to create something purely for the audience to enjoy. I hope that you enjoyed this video, taking this little adventure with me down Dramione Lane. Honestly, that would be a pretty cool street name. Personally, I would live there. But if you want to see things like this in real time as I'm doing them, definitely follow me on Instagram at Pros and Soup. I have a pretty small community on there as well, so I definitely get to talk to everybody, and I love the community that we have. So I would love if you would come join. Be sure to let me know you came from YouTube so we can chat. And my final question for the video: do you like the idea of Dramione? Why or why not? Let's talk about it. Thank you so much for watching if you got to this point, and I will see you in the next one.